We're cheap.
Yeah, we are.
Today on X-Play, a planet gets lost.
I'm beginning to like your planet.
Children play with electricity. And RPGs go Gothic. Engage. It's game time.
Now we'll see who's stronger.
Prepare to be reviewed.
Adam Sessler. Morgan Webb.
Prepare to be reviewed.
Prepare to be reviewed. This is X-Play.
Hello and welcome to X-Play.
X-Play, still not designated one of the 7 wonders of the modern world.
That stupid channel just keeps hanging on.
And what does the channel do? It connects 2 boring countries across a boring body of water. That's not interesting. That's not rock and roll. Not like reviewing video games.
Video games? What kind of video games?
Games like Star Trek Legacy, a Star Trek game which got into its fraternity because its dad was also a Star Trek game. And Gothic 3, a role-playing game where one gains experience through cutting themselves and posting poems to their blogs. Later in the show, we review Lost Planet, a shooter set on a planet God can't quite remember where he left.
But we begin with a game about the most important time in any child's life. That moment when you realize your parents care more about their job than they do about you. Here's our review of Elebits.
Sometimes here at X-Play, we need to take a step back from it all and ask the big questions like, why the hell am I fighting a flaming Easter bunny while running around a Christmas tree? This is Elebits for the Wii, and these are Elebits, roly-poly creatures that resemble rejected Lucky Charms more than enemy invaders. From big screen TVs to lampposts, Elebits run the world. Literally. You are Kai, a kid with chutzpah, an energy gun, and a desire to be the apple of your parents' eyes. But with your latchkey dreams dashed by the Elebits stealing away your parents' attention, you rebel by trying to capture every Elebit in sight while trashing your house in the process. Whatever happened to kids rebelling with cutting or eating their own hair? I still have all my Bezors, and they're all still magical. Elebits combines the controls of a first-person shooter with the mechanics of our favorite acid-addled addiction, Katamari. A little goes a long way, and more will take you even further as you collect these multicolored puffballs. Cutscenes move the story along, but barely.
Mom and Dad would take me out to an amusement park or something, right?
Every time this kid whines, I'm reminded that vasectomies require only local anesthetic and a steel-toed boot. I mean, sure, trouncing around your house and destroying everything sounds like fun, and frankly, it is. But after a while, you find yourself repeating the same senseless carnage that brought you here. While younger gamers may be amused solely by the idea of wreaking havoc, older gamers will fall into the monotony of easy push-button puzzles. Push the button, zap them up. Push the button, zap them up. Push the button. Times like these, I really wish that Elebits had necks. Make it easier to rip out their throats. Multiplayer, an area where this game could really shine, hits a sore spot by confining the party to a single... Hey, don't make me turn this game around! Okay, that's it. We're going to the corner. This is all chafing my sense of whimsy. Elebits works better in small doses and with an undeveloped pituitary gland. That's why these Elebits get a 3 out of 5.
Elebits is such a playful and sweet game.
Does it remind you of your childhood?
Do you think I was ever playful and sweet? There's no time for sweetness in the Webb household. We were too busy achieving things.
My childhood is mostly just a blur of phobias, indignities, and molestations. Then there's a large period of time in which I have no memory, but I'm assuming that's college.
And that's how life works. Over time, you transition from one phase to another. Just like numbers indicate a progression. To show you how numbers work, here's a nice Schick Top 4.
It's X-Play's Top 4 presented by Schick Quattro. Top 4 games influenced by Colin Farrell. Number 4, Miami Vice. When this movie-based game came out, we heard it would be fun, exciting, and take us into the wonderful world of Miami sleaze as only Crockett and Tubbs could play it. Then we played the game. It's all been a pack of lies. Number 3, The Getaway. Sure, Colin Farrell had nothing to do with The Getaway, but with funny accents, firebombed restaurants, and bar fights, always with the bar fights, don't you think he should've? That's the Colin Farrell way. Number 2, Tapper. Sometimes you gotta go where everybody knows your name. Colin Farrell would definitely approve of this one. Tapper teaches you not only that drinking is fun, but binge drinking is even more fun. Drink up, people, and keep those quote-unquote root beers flowing. Number 1, Alexander. Some people like their Colin Farrell rugged, dark-haired, and sloppy like a poor man's Peter O'Toole. We like our Colin Farrell blonde, flighty, and leading his troops through battle after battle, while riding a horse. And being in the movie Alexander that led to this generic piece of RTS trash. Oh, Colin Farrell, you always surprise us. We can't wait for what you do next. Or can we?
That sure was a Schick top 4.
Schick, with its 4 blades, is your best choice for shaving body hair in preparation for the next swim meet or drag show in your life.
How many razor blades they'll have to put in one cartridge before someone has the fortitude to say, enough is enough?
Well, you can never have too many razors in a shaving cartridge. Not while Schick is around.
Well, it's at least good to know American stick-to-itiveness isn't dead quite yet.
Yes, more razors.
Up next, quality Jean-Luc action on X-Play.
The host is a monster. The scariest monster movie since 80.
G4 is live.
We're live from the Tokyo Game Show.
G4 is live from CES in Las Vegas.
Live from Comic-Con.
G4 is live.
She prefers Captain Adama. It's Morgan Webb.
Welcome back to X-Play. Basic cable. It's the final frontier. You know, till the internet came along. But for about 12 years, from 1982 to 94, cable was where history was being made. But now we're irrelevant. Not as well produced as network, not as retardedly funny as YouTube. And, you know, that's how time works. One thing comes along and replaces another. And it's so shiny and new, it takes you 4 months to realize you hate it. And that's what happened to me with every new Star Trek series, but I finally have the option to compare and contrast captains by playing all of them in a new strategy game for the 360. So here is Star Trek Legacy.
Oh, hello. I'm Patrick Stewart. You may know me from my film X-Men, The Final Stand, or my VO work in Elder Scrolls IV, Oblivion. I'm here backstage at one of my summer stock romps to tell you about a watershed moment in video game history. It's Star Trek Legacy. Fully engage!
Actually, Captain, it's for the Xbox 360.
Damn it, freaks! I told you to wait in the car!
Video games. X-Play's only frontier. This is the review of the Star Trek Legacy. It's Xbox 360 mission to explore the same old worlds, uninteresting new life, and bland civilizations. To boldly go where all games have gone before. Star Trek, the phenomena that won't go away. The show that, unlike its main doctor and chief engineer, just won't die. And here it is in yet another incarnation of a video game.
What in blazes were they doing here?
Will this game be any different than the millions of triple-esque ones that have engulfed game consoles since George Takei first started living in denial? Just what makes this Star Trek worth trekking? Well, it's got all the Star Trek captains in voiceover. All of them. Including the dynamic, captivating, completely forgettable Jonathan Archer.
This is Captain Archer of the Starfleet ship Enterprise.
Scott Bakula should take a quantum leap out of this game. Ha ha ha!
All the ships the Sulu in training could ever want are here. Personally, I'd rather fly the Galactica, but I'm an Adama guy. Always have been. There is some sort of meandering storyline here. It has to do with the Borg, those damn dirty Borg. And if it's Star Trek, you know the Romulans just have to be involved. It's really just a forced excuse, any excuse, to get all eras of Star Trekkiness into the game, which leads to the firefights. The slow-moving, extremely repetitive firefights. But there's more. You can also escort other ships. Talk about warp factor lame. And like Star Trek Voyager's final season, it all starts to blend into one big massive who cares. Here I am, just sitting in a tin can. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. It's not really realistic, well, Roddenberry realistic anyway, but it does have the voices, like this soothing sound.
The sands of time have run out of the hourglass and left me with a burden that I try to accept.
And for this review, that's the only captain that counts.
I hear Shatner wears a toupee.
Yes, Captain.
I despise you, freaks. You and your beard.
Sure, this game looks nice. There's a nice spacey vibe to the whole thing, and the skirmishes aren't as embarrassing as Deep Space Nine. But like Brent Spiner's career since 1998, it's just not worth my time. We give Star Trek Legacy 3 Borgs out of 5.
Well, I hope you all learned something today. I know I did. Number 1, Star Trek Legacy is ghastly. And number 2, Frakes is a dumbass. Good night, everybody. Make it so. Let's go, Frakes. These legs won't shave themselves.
Star Trek is, nearly unavoidable here at G4 because every television screen in the place is either playing the original series or the Next Generation or the Next Generation 2.0.
That's why G4TV.com is your best source for interactive content about Star Trek and X-Play. For the X-Play fans, all of our reviews, both video and text versions, are available at our website.
And somewhere else on the site, there's a Spock market. I don't really remember. I just invested all my money in Uhura and stopped playing.
And the guys on the web team are trying to Photoshop Dax's head onto a naked lady's body. So there's even more great Star Trek content you can only find at G4TV.com.
Moments away, Gothic 3 on X-Play.
What do you know about computers?
My daughter definitely knows how to use a computer better than I do half the time, and she's 3.5.
Log on to governmentmoneyclub.com and find out now!
A yeoman just waiting for his big break. It's Adam Sessler.
Welcome back to X-Play. When I was a child, I was a loner. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was because of all the other kids hating me. But when I got to 8th grade, I met some kids who treated me as a friend. They invited me to hang out with them, smoke their cigarettes, listen to their crappy bands, and finally, they said I could become one of them, a goth. A boy who claims heterosexuality despite wearing foundation makeup and crying publicly. But I refused because A, I realized that goth culture would soon be replaced by the emo kids, and B, it cost way too much to dry clean a cloak. Brooding is pricey, but I still like to get a taste of goth in my games to remind me of what might have been. Here's Gothic 3.
I've got booze. Would you like a swig?
Finally. A video game that appreciates alcohol as much as we do.
But be careful. That stuff burns like a snapper fart.
Grab your goblets and prepare to drink in our review of Gothic 3. In previous installments, you played as a nameless hero who was exiled to a magical land and had to fight his way home. In part 3, you finally returned, but it turns out not everything is well in the land of Murtana.
We orcs will kill all of you.
I see.
Yeah, if you guessed that Murtana's been overrun by orcs, you should probably be writing these things.
There's nothing new here.
Much like in the Knights of the Old Republic games, you can choose to be good or evil, which affects the outcome of the story. For instance, you can work alongside the bad guys or defeat the orc overlords and liberate your pessimistic citizenry.
Whatever.
Unfortunately, fetch quest-based gameplay frequently rears its ugly head.
Oh, shut up. I need raw meat.
A lot of times it feels like you're just running petty errands for the locals.
I lost my tools.
But you have lots of tools left here.
That's not the same. My great-grandfather worked with those tools.
Okay, I'm trying to save the world, and you want me to track down a pair of pliers because you became emotionally attached? No thanks.
Man, I was lucky to have my tools.
All right, I'll get your tools. There's a ton of optional side quests and storylines to choose from, and you can even participate in arena fights. Here's a very brief example.
Now we'll see who's stronger.
It's me. I'm stronger. Gothic 3 is deeply similar to Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and believe us, it suffers in comparison. Seems like they're missing a sound effect there. Like a thud, maybe? I'm just saying. The game is loaded with graphical and technical glitches. Yes, that zombie just magically merged with that wall.
That's true.
Also contempt-worthy is the game's stunningly repetitive character animation. Who knew that you could get carpal tunnel syndrome from mass murder? On the other hand, the world of Gothic 3 often seems very lifelike. Humans and monsters interact in realistic ways, creating an eerily convincing universe. And since there could be a future patch that fixes a lot of the glitches, many problems could wind up being non-issues.
I don't find that very reassuring.
Yeah, neither do we. Right out of the box, Gothic 3 gets an unimpressive 3 out of 5.
I'm calling false advertising on that game. They promised Gothic, but I didn't get one Susie and the Banshee song on the soundtrack.
Did you want to have to listen to goth pop?
No, but I do enjoy forcing advertisers to live by their word. I'm consumer advocate like that.
In a moment, Lost Planet on X-Play.
G4TV.com. It's a whole new way to stay plugged into your world. The feed keeps you on top of the news you care about most. Dive into the pile with over 15,000 streaming videos, X-Play game reviews, and more. Go to G4TV.com. Always fresh.
365 in jewel crafting and counting, it's Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb.
Welcome back to X-Play.
When Gears of War came out, we were worried it would ruin other shooters for us due to its inventive gameplay.
We were pretty much right. If you don't let me take or do a SWAT turn, I don't really want to play you.
But another console shooter is out, and we were excited for the months leading up to its release. And we do assume it was too far along in development to cancel. So, here's our review of Lost Planet. How on Earth or deep space does someone lose a planet? I know a planet can lose its status.
I heard that, a-hole. You want to treat me like a soccer ball? Go ahead. I'm comfortable with who I am.
Quiet. No one likes a wanky planet. Lost Planet Extreme Conditions for the 360 doesn't seem entirely lost. There's plenty of hard-working folks around. As pretty much every game gets water right these days, it's nice to see its white fluffy sibling equally captivating. Just look at the stuff, and yet, there's more. We open the game with a never-ending backstory. Our hero, a harmlessly monikered guy named Wayne, is of course overhauled and built to kill. It's revenge he's after, maybe a bit of the local talent.
How about 2 on 1?
I'm beginning to like your planet.
Wayne is pretty much hassled right from the get-go. Early levels educate you quickly as to Wayne's range of motion. Digging, shouldering large weapons, jumping, and climbing are all on the menu. Lethal conveyance is everywhere, and levels are breathtakingly vast. Add to the denture dissolving tension the fact that Wayne's bionic fuel supply decreases over time. This makes a constant golden shower a must. As you press through blinding clouds of enemy ordnance, one must always be aware of Wayne's need to feed. Wayne's world changes dramatically as he traverses the terrain of the misplaced planet. Look, I know what you're thinking. Here comes an X-Play comment on the anatomical similarity of this thing to a certain nether porthole. Forget it. Not this time. Where were we? So Wayne's tumbling through the bowels of the planet and, hey, look out! Hemorrhoids! Better get your Preparation H gun out, Wayne. Poor Wayne is often defecated into extremely compromising situations. Poor Wayne. There's a staggering array of combatants in the title. What's that, you say? Is the game challenging? You tell me. Holy shit. Another breath-relieving element in the title are the bosses. Think Shadow the Colossus, think God of War, but think of something fast. Sadly, this foregrounds some of the title's more annoying features. The button you use to pick up a weapon is the same one that ejects your booty in a harm's way. No es bueno, Senor Capcom. Another downside is your mech's rearmament routine. In order to replace your weapon with a fully loaded one, you must place the side with the empty gun next to the full one. In the heat of furious combat, when the fog of war is thick, this caused a lot of full weapons discharge. Let's face it, nobody likes premature ejaculation. With a huge variety of mechs, enemies, beautiful environments, and worthy multiplayer elements, these few shortfalls are really out of place. A 4.
Hey, look, everybody, I found Charmonica on the lewd tube.
Out of 5. Okay, Capcom, we want to give your games 5s. For Lost Planet, like Dead Rising, you have this great game, and then you undermine it with this crazy technical stuff. I do not want to use the same button to pick up a weapon as I do to get out of the mech in the middle of a boss battle. Work harder.
I'm annoyed by a storyline that includes amnesia.
Yes.
Dad! One of the main reasons we've been positive about Lost Planet, though, is that Capcom's last 360 title, Dead Rising, surprised a lot of people with its power and inventiveness.
But we can't judge games based on the publisher's other titles. We have to base it on the game itself to show you how why don't we give you a nice X-Play replay?
Good idea! Elebits got a 3 out of 5 for a vivid portrayal of Adam's home life.
Star Trek Legacy got a 3 out of 5 for continuing the legacy of Star Trek games sucking.
Gothic 3 got a 3 out of 5 for a distinct lack of flying buttresses.
And Lost Planet got a 4 out of 5 because snow is more fun with explosives.
Speaking of things we wish we could lose, it's time for viewer mail.
Dear Adam and Morgan, you guys are as funny as heck on X-Play. And do you also play any more classic systems like Sega Genesis and NES?
Thank you, Dad. And yes, we know that we are very hilarious. It's our burden. It's our gift.
Yes, but to answer your question, yes, we do play old consoles because there are some games we love and will always want to revisit.
But most people who are still playing N64s do so because they don't have any newer consoles. Thus, their behavior isn't nostalgia, it's cheapness.
And we mostly play old games in collections which have been released for newer consoles, but in honesty, it's hard to play some of the old games.
The graphics are bad, the interfaces are archaic, and it's just hard to play an 80s text adventure when you know you've got a brand new 360 at home.
Well, we have brand new 360s at home. Well, we may not be indie hipster retro games kids. We are playing the retro games of tomorrow.
What Morgan means is that since there's so few good titles out for the PS3, we might as well spend our time with an old generation of consoles that provide quality games.
Yeah, so what he's trying to say is we've both been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank at our desks.
Yep. Thanks again, and keep the video viewer mail coming. We need it to fill time.
This awkward time-filling pause was brought to you by X-Play.
Oh, that was awkward.
The following is a paid presentation for specialty